Party people, how you feeling?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Papa Jug Podcast. This is episode 36, and tonight we have all 4 segments. I'm holding up 4 fingers on each hand, but that's 2 hands, so that's 8. All right, please don't ask me to count anymore. That's the end of the counting segment for the show, okay? We've got all 4 segments for you tonight. We're going to be doing fast facts. We've got some science to talk about. We've got some say what. We have a truly partially terrible, partially misunderstood say what, I think. And then I've got a thought about something that is going to be controversial. Please understand that the person involved in it is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the concept, not the person. That's going to be my disclaimer. I hope everybody had a great week. Hopefully you are watching this live on YouTube. I hope you are, because all you have to do is go over to the YouTube channel and click subscribe, and it's a free action that supports me. Help, please. Thanks. Okay. Let's get ready to fast facts. Hold on. I forgot the fast fact. There we go. Okay. First things first, there was a major nuclear problem in Russia. Did you hear about it? Probably not. Here's the weird thing. I don't know why we didn't hear about this. I found 2 articles that covered it. There's probably more at this point, but when it first happened, there were 2 articles that cover it. Here's the thing. There is a Russian city that is very, very close. There is literally 20 miles from the border with China. I don't know if anybody's paid attention to the world lately, but these are 2 countries you don't want having nuclear problems right now. Russia and China. So Russia has this 16,000% problem with radiation. This town suddenly lights up. Doesn't explode. I'm not saying anything exploded. All I'm saying is, according to the latest data, 16,000% higher was their radiation level than normal. It's bad. It's a very, very bad moment, and that's a problem. The Chinese freak out. The Chinese are like, red alert, red alert, red alert. What the hell do we do? Because it's not their thing. It's Russia's. And they're like, okay, we don't control Russia. So what do we do about this? Here's what I loved about the article. This was my favorite quote about this. It was in the city of Khabarovsk. The mayor decided to lift the radiation warning after a suitable amount of time, apparently. Quote, Khabarovsk mayor lifted the state of emergency on Tuesday, and the source of the radioactive contamination, that's a phrase you don't want coming out of Russia, hashtag Chernobyl. The source of radioactive contamination was transferred to competent authorities. Who in the hell was managing it before this? If you had to transfer the radioactive problem to competent authorities, who was in charge? Shouldn't they have been in charge before the problem? Okay, anyways, the Chinese had it. They had their own alerts, and they were like, what do we do? And they contacted the Russians. The Russians like, no, everything fine. Yes, okay, go back to sleep. No, turns out not. It was a 1,600-fold increase in radiation levels. It prompted local officials to declare a state of emergency in all of Khabarovsk, which is the largest Far Eastern city with a population of about 630,000. To put that in some form of context, at least relevant to me, this is a city that would be twice the size of the city of Anaheim, which is where Disneyland is located. So imagine Disneyland had a radioactive level that was 1,600-fold higher than it used to be. Bad day, but Chinese and Russians are like, everything fine. Okay, sure. Let's move on. Headline in Newsweek this week: teen psychosis risk may be linked to computer and video game use. All right. I kind of feel like this is the satanic panic, but with technology. Like, is this just, how many studies do we have to have that says, yes, video games bad? And then we have 1,000 more studies that say video games are fine. I just, whatever. So I thought I would mention this to everybody. Kids playing too many video games and spending too much time online has long concerned parents, but new research has found that these activities may be associated with psychotic experiences. This was the interesting part, is how they use the word psycho, or psychosis, I should say, not psycho. Psycho is an inappropriate term. Don't use it. It's not considerate. Teenagers who spend a lot of time playing video games and on the computer are more likely to have a psychotic experience, according to the new paper in the JAMA Psychiatry Journal. This was interesting, but there's a small problem. First of all, they're tracking psychotic experiences up to the age of 23. Perhaps I'm the only one that knows how to count or read English, but after 19, you are no longer a teen because you're not teen anymore. But whatever, they conducted the study and they did this for people all the way up to the age of 23 after monitoring their use. Now, these people had to be born in 1997 or 1998. So they tracked their computer and video game playing and all of that throughout their teen years. And then they decided, did they have a psychotic episode? Here's what the fun part is: a psychotic episode. These were some of the questions. Quote, have you ever felt as if people seem to drop hints about you or say things with a double meaning? Okay. If you think people are talking about you, that doesn't make you psychotic. Like that's just like, no, I think people are talking about me and I have proof because I have, the Snapchat or something, like that's not a psychotic experience. But okay, whatever. Quote, have you ever felt as if the thoughts in your head are not your own? That's being a teenager. That is not a psychotic experience. That is a normal, I don't know. I don't feel right. This is right. Everybody has it. Okay. Quote, have you ever heard voices when you're alone? That's anybody who believes in ghosts. Not a psychotic experience. I would chalk it up to a different thing, but not the point. Not a psychotic experience. It's just, I heard something. Wait, what am I hearing? I'm alone in the house. Why do I hear noises? Because it's an unexplained thing. Shut up. It's not psycho. Let's move on. They were trying to use these questions to determine if they had experienced periods of persecutory ideations, bizarre experiences, and perceptual abnormalities. Stupid. Here we go. The researchers found that the association between video games and psychotic experiences could be explained by other factors. Duh. So, there was also, I love this. Yeah. For some individuals, video gaming is thought to aid in managing emotions and fostering social connections, potentially more effectively than passive media like television. This is from the same researchers. They reached both conclusions, but the headline in Newsweek doesn't tell you that. No. Children and teens might discover that the psychological and social aspects of gaming help them deal with feelings of loneliness and being excluded socially. Conversely, challenges such as economic instability, mental health issues, and interpersonal struggles may limit access to other activities, thus leading to a preference for video games. Yeah! Let's move on, okay? If you hadn't heard the rumors, Adin Ross retired. No, he didn't. There's an account on X. There's an account on X called Adin Updates. And I've said this many times that who cares? But it posted a message that has been used before. And in previous work, this account gives updates about Adin. But the statement was about Adin Ross retiring from streaming. Personally, did a little happy dance, thought we might get rid of some of the garbage on the internet. Turns out, not so much. He came back to Kick the very next day, but it was a very weird stream. Adin comes back to Kick the day after this stupid retirement post comes out. He's not retiring, but it is titled Retirement. He has a video on YouTube titled Why Adin Ross is Retiring from Streaming. He had been gone from Kick for a week. Then this retirement thing gets posted, not by his official account, but by Adin Updates, whatever that is. It's a fan account. And then he comes back to Kick the day after it gets published, and he goes on this rant about how Kick is terrible, the site is shitty, he doesn't like his friends. He publicly asks Dan Clancy, the CEO of Twitch, to unban him. That ain't happening. Actually, I take that back. In defense of Twitch, all banned streamers can request an unban now. They've opened the doors to everybody. I'm really curious if Dr. Disrespect sent one in and got denied again, but it'd be funny. Anyways, so he goes on this thing, like he's talking about he wants to collab with Kai Cenat. He's talking about getting unbanned on Twitch. He's talking about how crappy Kick is. He goes on this weird stream and anyways, if I don't know if he still is, but just prior to this show going live on Friday at 7:30 Pacific time, Adin Ross was still on Kick. He was live streaming as I'm recording, or at least just before I was recording this. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I would love it if he retired and just went away. but he hasn't. So life will go on, and sadly, so will his career. Cities Skylines 2. In case anybody has noticed, this game is not great. It came out, at first everybody thought it was great. Then they were like, no, not so much. There's problems. And then the devs were like, yeah, we know there's problems, but we're fixing them. Turns out they haven't fixed them. No, they've promised patches, haven't fixed the problems. Then they came out with this beach DLC. Not only did that not fix problems, that added a whole batch of new ones. It wasn't free. So what the devs have had to do, what Paradox has come out. Paradox comes out and says, all right, listen, I'm going to read this because the big quote is, we let you down. This was so much fun. Quote, we see an this is from, who wrote this? Paradox Deputy CEO, Colossal Order CEO Marina Halikainen and Paradox Deputy CEO Matthias Lilja. If I butchered their names, I apologize. Quote, we see and understand the disappointment many of you have expressed after the release of Cities Skylines 2 and the recent release of Beach Properties. We asked for your patience and support, and you've shown those. In return, we let you down. That is a beautifully blunt statement from two CEOs. It's, we asked you to do this, you did it, we still suck. But they just said it. Like, good job. Kudos to those two for being honest. Quote, we thought we could make up for the shortcomings of the game in a time frame that was unrealistic, and we rushed out a DLC that should not have been published in its current form. For all this, we are truly sorry. Cool. Now, what is going to happen? Well, it's real simple. In response, the developers will be issuing refunds for people who bought Beach Properties, and they will change the entire DLC pack to free. You could just go download it for free if you've already got City Skylines 2. Ultimate Edition players won't receive refunds, but they'll get 3 additional creator packs and 3 extra radio stations. That's cool. If you guys remember, I've talked about this every once in a while. I love a good city sim. I loved SimCity. I love SimCity 2000. I love 3000 was pretty good. City Skylines I really enjoyed. And now City Skylines 2 has just been a disappointment, and I hate to see it. City Skylines 2 launched October of 2023, and at the time of the writing, it has over 2,300 mostly negative recent reviews on Steam, with most of the critiques noting poor PC performance. As a PC gamer, sad for me. Despite player feedback, Colossal Order and Paradox moved forward with the release. We still think for the long term of the project, releasing now is the best way forward. We're proud of the unique gameplay and features in City Skylines 2, and we genuinely believe that it offers a great experience that you will enjoy. Boy, was that wrong 7 months ago. They got that so wrong. So sad. I got a comment in chat. In my personal and professional experience, the field of psychology is a takes one to know one field profession. I'm not going to judge the entire field of psychology. I do believe psychology provides a very, very strong basis for evidence-based diagnoses of mental problems. But yeah, let's just put it this way. I am not a Scientologist. Okay. Moving on. Oh God, this was hysterical. So Elon Musk. This was such a special moment. Elon Musk is so desperate for good news to come out of X that he's now just misrepresenting data completely. There was a graph that came out that was showing the amount of, I think it was the amount of time that users were spending on the platform. And there was this huge spike in it. No, it was, he flat out either intentionally didn't read what the graph was, or he intentionally omitted what the graph was from his repost. Sorry, Elon. Elon claims Twitter's traffic is at an all-time high because he can't be bothered to understand the misleading data that people show him. It was a chart that came out for X organic traffic over the last 12 years. There's this big spike when he buys it, and it's basically just like climbing ever since. Interesting. Like I said, it's called X organic traffic 12 years. It shows some ups and downs of traffic until early 2023. Then the traffic suddenly jumps in basically the course of a day from somewhere around 1 billion to 2.5 billion. We don't know what the units are at this point. Nothing is labeled. There's numbers on the y-axis, but it doesn't say what they are. It's just 3.8 billion, 2.5 billion what? Who the hell knows? Even the most gullible sucker in the world. I love this article, by the way. I'm reading it from Tech Dirt. Even the most gullible sucker in the world, except apparently Elon Musk, would maybe pause to wonder why there was that massive more than 2x jump at one point. Possibly Elon thought it was all because traffic jumped in a single day once he took over. No. So, the data is from SEM Rush. If you're not familiar with SEM Rush, it is a traffic monitor. It does SEM analysis. It's a really useful tool. It's really good in the world of search engine marketing. The data is from SEM Rush, one of the more well-known tools that measures search engine referral traffic. And that's what it's looking at. It is looking at how much search engine referral traffic there is to Twitter, not Twitter traffic. It's traffic to Twitter. That's a different thing. So, what is the giant bump? It turns out that it happened in April of 2023, just as Twitter turned off its free API access for most users. This had people speculating it had something to do with that, but the answer was actually even more boring. This was also when SEM Rush changed how it measured search engine referral traffic, causing such numbers to spike for everyone. He didn't care. He just saw a chart that made X look cool. He was like, yep, repost. Look how amazing my product is. Everyone should advertise here, especially if you're a white supremacist. So yeah, that's what it was. It was literally a search chart from a third party measuring traffic from Google to what is now X. Elon didn't even bother to care. He's just like, yep, cool platform. Sad to see it. Up next, we're going to be talking about somebody. This is an up-and-coming content creator. I am really happy to be breaking news for this particular content creator. I think they're going to have a very bright future ahead of them. If you have not heard the name of this content creator, I think you're going to be hearing it a lot in the future. I want to introduce you to somebody named Taylor Swift. There's a lot of buzz going around. I think she's going to go pretty viral. She dropped a brand new album. It was really, really highly anticipated. Lots of energy, lots of attention poured onto this thing. And it turns out it wasn't just 16 tracks. It was 31. It's a double CD release. For those of you too old to remember what CDs are, they're little discs that you encode information on, and they spin really fast. It's like a hard drive, but more portable. Anyways, yeah, Taylor Swift. The headline that from the Hollywood Reporter, which I thought was interesting, Taylor Swift breaks multiple records at Spotify with the Tortured Poets Department album. That was the name of the album, by the way. It is the Tortured Poets Department. It is a brand new release, and it was originally 16 songs. She then dumped 15 more onto the world and was like, yay, double. So good times. The singer released her highly anticipated 11th studio. I had no idea there was 11 of these things. Wow. At midnight Eastern on Friday, followed by a surprise double album 2 hours later. Spotify revealed on Friday, almost instantly. Spotify revealed on Friday, mere hours after the Grammy-winning singer dropped the album, that Tortured Poets became the audio giant's most streamed album in a single day. Not a huge surprise. Swift also became the most streamed artist in a single day in Spotify history. That's pretty cool, right? Yay! The singer's newest records likely won't come as a surprise to fans, as the audio streamer shared on Thursday. Prior to the album's release, it became the most pre-saved album countdown page in the history of Spotify. So, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. I think we all know Taylor has some talent. And like I said, I think we're going to be hearing more about Taylor in the future. Go check out that up-and-coming content creator. Have yourself a nice weekend. Up next, Nebraska woman accused of using a pump glitch to get $27,000 worth of free gas. Basically, by accident, she discovered there was a glitch in one of the pumps at a particular gas station. This pump could be set by the customer into a demo mode. She got her gas for free. Basically, the way it used to work is you'd have to put in a rewards card and then a payment card before you would get your gas from the pumps. This particular pump got misconfigured when it was under repairs or something like that, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And basically, you could use the reward card twice. And the pump was like, oh, you want to demo something? No problem. And it would just give you gas. Whoopsie. Over a period of a couple of years, she got $27,000 in free gas. In fact, she was selling access to the card for discounted gas. So basically, if her gas was $4 a gallon, she would sell it, the card to somebody for their tank of gas for like $2 a gallon. One woman even fessed up. She's like, yeah, I gave her like $500 or $600 over the period of time that I knew her because I was getting discounted gas. She has been arrested, fear not. She is being charged with a crime, and she, I believe, I think she paid a $7,500 bond. Grand total, she estimated 7,413 gallons of gas. This is in Nebraska, by the way. I think I said that. Yeah, she was released from jail after paying a $7,500 bond. She is already gone to court, and she is going to jail. Yeah, that's what she deserves. So that's what's going on in the world of fast facts. Let's move on to science. This is a cool one, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk to you about, oh shit, I just closed it. Whoops, there it is. Are you familiar with Borderlands Science? Yes, the name is intentional. It is part of the Borderlands game. I didn't know this. I've never played Borderlands. Cool game, but I've just never played it. This was brought to me by our friend I'm Caffeine Fiend. He is one of the Diamond Discord supporters here in the PJ Party, and I really appreciate him bringing this to my attention because I was fascinated when I learned about this. So there is a game inside Borderlands 3 called Borderlands Science. It basically tricks human players into solving complex genetic alignment problems that can be intuitive for humans, but difficult for computers that are trying to solve the genomic problems. I loved this. I thought this was an amazing thing to discover. But it got me thinking about stuff that I used to do with basically citizen science. For those of you who might remember, there was a project put out by the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Project, SETI. Remember them? They were headquartered over at, I want to say UC Berkeley, but maybe it was, let's say Berkeley, just so I don't compound my errors. So the SETI project was headquartered at Berkeley, at a university that was over there. And they designed this program that was basically looking for patterns. And what they did was they made it available to everyone on the internet. All you had to have was a PC and an internet connection. You could download packets of data from the project because the telescopes are scanning the skies, and it creates way more data than a single computer or even a bank of computers at insert university here could possibly handle. So they turned it over to citizens and like, hey, if you could lend us some of your PC computing time, we would like to do this in the background of your computer. It was really cool, and I did it for years. They have since shut down the program, by the way. They don't, not SETI, but the citizen science part of it, this desktop app. But it got me thinking about stuff like that and why we don't utilize more citizen science. The cool thing about this particular project, which involved McGill University in Canada and UC San Diego, and of course Gearbox, who developed Borderlands. So the people at the university, and I will talk about the university in a second because this is not McGill's first effort on citizen science. So they meet the CEO of Gearbox, and they're like, hey, we've got this cool thing. And Gearbox is like, dude, I love it. Let's do it. It took them 5 years to figure out how to get this done. But they got Borderlands Science built into Borderlands 3. And now, and this is very literal, when somebody plays this Borderlands Science game in Borderlands 3, the data is given to McGill University to help them solve genomic problems. I think that's pretty cool. I think this is a great use of science, and especially for kids that are playing, it might spark some sort of interest or at least awareness of how science can be fun. And that's something that I think education struggles with, is how do we make complex problems fun? How do we make important projects fun for the average layperson who may not have 12 PhDs in science? So I think this is a great thing. So let's talk about McGill and what McGill has done in the past. McGill has had a couple of other projects. One was called, I want to say Physo, but it's not Physo, it's not Fido, it's not Phylo, it's not Phylo. Okay, cool. Using gamers for medical research in this way isn't an entirely new concept. McGill University's Phylo, which has been free to play online since 2010, that's 13 years of this stuff, it uses the same basic premise to get thousands of players to help sequence viruses. But Gearbox Borderlands Science implementation adds a bit of game industry polish. It's much better than Phylo. Phylo's kind of rough. And an interface refinement to the idea. It also incentivizes millions of Borderlands players to take part in the research by giving them free in-game items and rewards just for playing. I think that's cool. Quote, Combined with classical algorithms, crowd computing techniques can be successfully used to help improve the accuracy of multiple sequence alignment, which is the process they're doing on the back end. Our results show that solutions submitted contributed to improving the accuracy of up to 70% of the alignment blocks considered. This is for Phylo, just FYI. This suggests that citizen science approaches can be used to exploit the billions of human brain petaflops. Such a nerdy phrase. Human brain petaflops of computation that are spent every day playing games. The concept behind it, which I still partially struggle with because computers, in most cases, are infinitely better at pattern detection than humans are. But the human brain is sort of designed for that. We've evolved a brain that naturally looks for patterns, mostly for safety reasons. If we see something that is abnormal, it triggers, in some cases, that fight or flight. You know, why is this different? But this isn't the way it's supposed to be. You know, it gives us a clue that there's something that we should pay extra attention to. So there is that thing of pattern recognition inside the human brain. The human brain is still more functional than a computer. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. We just don't know how to use it that well. Not the point. Come on. Comment from Rooster in chat. Come on, Bethesda. Let's see some nuclear science in the Fallout games. I know, right? That'd be great. But anyways, so I got really into this, and there was an article on Discover Magazine which talks about the entire game, but how playing science games is advancing genetic research. By playing citizen science games like Phylo, Colony B, and Borderlands Science, people can join scientific research projects by completing simple activities in their free time. And it's true. That's the idea. How do we get these people involved? How can we make it fun? Can we do this in their free time? So it's not like, hey, we need you to volunteer, citizen. You know, it's not one of those. It shouldn't feel like a forced community service project. You know what I mean? It really does get to the level of, we're going to make science not only accessible, but accessibly fun. And that's a great thing. Researchers at McGill University created a citizen science game called Phylo in 2010 to solve inconsistencies in computer analysis. In this game, people compare DNA sequences from 44 vertebrate species to find the faults of a computer program typically used to assign DNA sequences. By the way, what you're doing in Borderlands Science, in case you're wondering, it's not the human genome we're working on. It's actually the genome of gut bacteria. It's all the garbage, all the little microbiomes that exist in the human gut. They're analyzing the genomes of those critters. It's really cool. I love it. However useful this program is, it can create talking about the computer program, it can create inconsistencies in the sequence alignments that can only be resolved by humans looking over the data. See, AI can't win every battle yet. Skynet's not ready. Not that. Understand it. There we go. Similar to Phylo, Colony B also began as a solution to a machine learning program. In this case, the problem was clustering, or the grouping of data points into distinct, meaningful categories. No specific method can use a machine to predict when and why clustering occurs. So once again, human help is needed. And that's where Colony B came from. And then they had a similar idea, and that's where Borderlands Science came from. So I thought this was really cool science news. I wanted to share it with all of you guys. Go check it out if you'd like. You can look up Phylo, which is Phylo, or Colony B, or go play some Borderlands 3 and hop onto the little arcade terminal that is technically Borderlands Science. Have fun with that one. Up next, we're going to move on to... What does the fox say? Something stupid. We're going to move on to Say What? And I just closed the window. Hold, please. There it is. There we go. Start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine. The guy you see on screen currently is the one who said that. It is Gregg Doyel. He works for an Indianapolis newspaper who I'm not going to name. Please do not go target this guy. Don't be toxic. He's apologized. I'll get to that. An Indiana newspaper columnist has apologized to Caitlin Clark because Caitlin Clark just finished her college career. Obviously, she crushed it, and she got drafted to the Fever, which is an Indianapolis WNBA team. So She's doing her press conference. They're announcing her joining the team. And this guy from the Indianapolis paper, Gregg Doyel, he comes out, and this is the important part of the interaction. He makes the little hand heart gesture because she would make that sign to her family members during games or after games. And so he made the sign to her. First of all, that's wrong. That's creepy. You don't know her. She's a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, whatever she is. You're clearly not that. So you don't need to make the heart hand sign to the young lady. All right, leave her alone. She's there to talk about a really cool career move. Stick with that, Greg. All right. Anyways, so Caitlin says, "You like that?" He said, "I like that you're here." Or no, I'm sorry. "I like that you're here. I like that you're here. I do that to my family after every game. So," and he says, "Start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine." I think this is a guy who was awkward. I think this is a guy who was trying to find something witty because obviously he knows how the media works. He was trying to find a way to relate to her. He's a sports reporter. He's covering Caitlin's introduction to the team. He's going to be seeing her more, maybe not after this, but whatever. He's trying to find a way to bond. And I think it just went so bad, so fast. There was no recovery. Almost instantly, this got picked up and went viral. Everybody is doing everything from the "bro, stop." Other people are like, this is what female athletes have to deal with on the daily. Male reporters who think they're being sexually funny or professionally, humorously inappropriate. Like the girls got to deal with this all the time. Why do guys do this? And it's a fair question, but I think this situation just got really not taken out of context, but just sort of exploded out of what it needed to be. But it's another teaching moment. It's another moment where society says, don't do that. That thing that just happened, don't do that again. Nobody should do that. Everybody pay attention. It's not funny. Like there's some great clips of Mila Kunis, a very famous actor. She was on the 70s show. She's been in multiple movies, very talented. But Mila talks about not only the treatment of female actors, but Mila also talks about because she is bilingual. She is Ukrainian. She speaks fluent Russian. She grew up speaking Russian language. I should say Ukrainian. She probably speaks both. I don't know. Maybe it's just Russian that she speaks. She might come from the parts of Ukraine that speak Russian. Anyways, not the point. So, but she has these interesting stories where people are, especially the media, asking questions of her co-stars in Russian, and then it gets translated into English for her co-stars, but it's not a true translation. And there's multiple cases. You can search YouTube for a million of these things where you will find, let's say, a female actor who talks about things like, "You would never ask a male actor that," or "Why are you asking me about the sex scene and not my male co-star?" It happens all the time. Women get pigeonholed into this thing, and it is absolutely not fair, first of all. But this is 2024. We really need to be evolving out of this. Women have dominated the world of sports for many, many years. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the U.S. women's national soccer team, I think that's redundant, the women's national soccer team for the United States, whatever, have outperformed the men pretty much forever. Okay, as long as the women's team has existed, they've got way more trophies, way more championships, way more like they do an amazing job. They just don't get paid the same. A lot like women actors. It just whatever. So, yeah, that was what Greg said. Gregg Doyel said, "Start doing it to me and we'll get along just fine." You can tell Caitlin Clark was uncomfortable. You can tell the room got uncomfortable and everybody's like, "What? Like, dude, shut up. What are you doing?" He did issue a near immediate apology. So in Gregg Doyel's defense, he immediately went on to X and was posting like, "I'm sorry, this was awkward, blah, blah, blah." Where is it? No. Yeah. So he said, "Caitlin Clark, I'm so sorry. Today I was part of the problem." He has a very nice apology. Some people have still criticized it. I thought it was decent. Could have been done a little bit differently, but I think that as an apology goes, it seems heartfelt. Again, maybe awkward, but seemed like a heartfelt apology. So yeah, guys, just don't do that. She's not. Let's put it this way. Caitlin Clark was not doing this interview or this press event because she is a female basketball player. Caitlin Clark was at this event because Caitlin Clark got drafted to a professional basketball team. If you notice, I can say that entire sentence without using a gender. It's because the gender wasn't the important part. Now, her success during her collegiate years where she was smashing men's records, absolutely you can talk fairly and justly about gender because forever women have always been told you can't achieve what men have achieved in sports. Caitlin Clark was like, hey, hold my beer. And she did. So that gender discussion is fair. That gender identification is fair. But that wasn't the point of this press event. This press event was just amazingly talented basketball player gets drafted first round to a very talented NBA or WNBA team. That was the point. Focus on that. Let's move on. All right. I gave a disclaimer at the beginning of this episode, and I'm going to repeat the same idea right now. What we are about to talk about in the I Had a Thought About That concept, we're not talking about the person. What I'm talking about is a concept. This is not a political statement, and I will show that throughout this segment. And it's going to be brief. It's a question for you. It's not really my thought. I mean, it's kind of my thoughts, but it's really your thoughts. We are going to be talking about the concept of justice. I've been thinking about it a lot this week because for those who have kept up in the news, there is a former president of the United States named Donald Trump who is on the very first ever criminal trial for a former president. That is not the point of this discussion. I am talking about the concept of justice. There has been, well, let me back up. The judge in the case, okay, he's on trial for potentially or allegedly misrepresenting financial transactions. Basically, this was the hush money. Everybody's calling it the hush money trial. This is the hush money trial that he paid his fixer lawyer, Michael Cohen, to make the Stormy Daniels affair story go away before the 2016 election. Okay? That's the allegation from the district attorney of Manhattan. All right. Now, originally, the judge was forecasting 2 to 3 weeks to seat a jury. It's a criminal trial. You get a jury. This is the United States of America that he is on trial in, and we have jury trials for criminal cases. The concept behind that is that you have 12 of your peers, and peers is important. You have 12 of your peers to decide guilt or innocence. The judge was forecasting that this was going to take a long time. And it can in some cases, because the case can be very complex. There could be mitigating circumstances for the jury. And in this case, there are, and I'll go over those in a minute. But the judge was like, yeah, this is going to be a 2 to 3 week process. As of today, which is Friday, April 19th, the jury is seated. We're good to go. It took a week. They seated all 12 jurors plus 6 alternates. But it wasn't without complication. There are security concerns. The jury is going to be completely anonymous. The only people who know the identity of the jurors are the prosecutors, Trump's attorneys, the judge. That's it. The media has even been given very strict instructions. Do not report on physical descriptions. Do not report on their demographic information. No, we do have a little bit of demographic information that they're allowed to discuss. But a lot of who they are and what they are cannot be revealed by the media. The judge has slapped some very strict orders on this. And it's because of their personal safety. Regardless of what you think of the former president, the most recent one, regardless of your personal thoughts of that person, in the United States of America, every person accused of a crime is entitled to a fair trial. Let's be clear, there is no way to eliminate human bias. We are not impaneling a jury of 12 robots with no personalities or independent thoughts. But the idea behind this American system of justice is personified in, for some of you are seeing live on the screen, which is the allegorical personification of Lady Justice. You're probably very familiar with statues and artist depictions. It is a woman clothed in a robe, a toga. I don't know I mean, it's not really. I guess it's a dress. I don't know. I've never really thought about it. Anyways, she is holding scales. They are balanced, and she is blindfolded. And that's the idea, that justice should be blind. It doesn't take your color into account. It doesn't take your economic status into account. It doesn't take the public perception into account. Justice should be administered fairly and blindly without prejudice. Our system is not perfect, but it is the best in the world to try to achieve that as best a human can. Unfortunately, a lot of the events surrounding Donald Trump tend to become very controversial very quickly. I think that's the best way I can put this. Anybody, and I unfortunately do mean this as a fact, anybody that gets attacked by Donald Trump is nearly instantly subjected to everything from job threats to death threats. There are some people who take what he says to be akin to religious gospel. And if someone opposes Donald Trump, there are followers of his who decide that they need to be punished. So for the safety of the jury, the judge put in these very strict rules. The jurors are anonymous. Interestingly, we had jurors who were seated. They were approved by both sides, prosecution and defense. They came into court this morning and said, I don't think I can do this. One woman broke down in tears. She was crying because of the stress. She was crying because of the threats, she did not allege any actual threats. Potential threats to her safety, disruption to her life. She was crying in court. She's like, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I have to leave I cannot be in this trial. Thankfully, the judge was able to very quickly resolve the situation. And again, by the end of court on Friday, April 19th, 12 jurors and 6 alternates are impaneled. Opening statements occur on Monday. Okay. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about was really your perception. I wanted you to think about something. I love talking to my wife about stuff like this. And I asked her, I said, hey, do you think that you would be fair and impartial? She gave me her answer. I've asked 3 other people, do you think you could be fair and impartial when it comes to deciding a criminal trial for Donald Trump? And what we have to do, if we were part of the jury, is we have to set aside our preconceived notions of him, of the allegations, and of the trial itself. If you're on a jury, you basically go in and say, I am open to the evidence. I will be guided by the evidence. I want to read you something. This is from findlaw.com. The right to a jury trial plays a central role in the criminal justice system. There will be a jury in some civil cases, but the majority of jury trials are criminal trials. Hence, it's important to understand the strengths, weaknesses, and function of the jury in a criminal matter. The jury's function, quote, jury service is a civic obligation and is required by every citizen of the United States. That's not technically true. There are minor exceptions for some disabled people. There are minor exceptions for those who are unable to attend a trial, etc. However, a jury alone doesn't guarantee a fair and impartial trial. The Constitution guarantees that members of the jury reflect one's peers. We talked about that. And that became really key, especially during segregation issues, because you would have black people on trial with all white juries. It wasn't fair. Just hint, hint, wink, wink. It was not a fair system because they weren't peers. You didn't have basically a random representative assortment of the society in which the crime occurred or the society in which the alleged perpetrator conducted it. It was a very, very unfair system. But the idea is if you get a good jury that does represent one's peers, you have a more just system. Okay. The courts have further interpreted this to mean a fair cross-section of, that's a good, a cross-section of one's community. That's great. There is an oath, and this varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Federal oaths are different from maybe a state or a local court. There are different oaths that you will take in different countries. So, for example, the jury oath in England is going to be different from Australia, is going to be different from the United States. Jury oaths vary, but they all have the same general concept. I'm going to read to you the exact. This is from the criminal pattern jury instructions used by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit and for use by U.S. district courts of the state. Okay? Quote, "You as jurors are the judges of the facts, but in determining what actually happened, that is, in reaching your decision as to the facts, it is your sworn duty to follow all of the rules of law as I explain them to you." If you guys have never seen this, jury instructions and the jury oath is administered by the judge. So the judge of the trial will be the one who gives these instructions to you. You have no right to disregard or give special attention to any one instruction or to question the wisdom or correctness of any rule I may state to you. You must not substitute or follow your own notion or opinion as to what the law is or ought to be. It is your duty to apply the law as I explain it to you, regardless of the consequences. However, you should not read into these instructions or anything else I may have said or done any suggestion as to what your verdict should be. That is entirely up to you. It is also your duty to base your verdict solely upon the evidence without prejudice or sympathy. That was the promise you made and the oath you took. So that was the jury instruction as used by the U.S. 10th Circuit. Okay. A typical, I want to find the actual, there's a copy of the oath. Not that. Oh, here it is. In the United States, a federal juror's oath usually states something to the effect of, quote, "Do you and each of you solemnly swear that you will well and truly try and a true deliverance make between the United States and," insert the name of the defendant here, "the defendant at the bar, and a true verdict render according to the evidence, so help you God." For those of you who are not people of faith, God is actually not always present in these oaths. For a lot of oaths, they've been removed. The court system has taken them out as a clear violation of the U.S. First Amendment. But you may occasionally hear it, and in which case, the copy that I just read you does have that phrase. But the bottom line is, you're here to render an honest verdict on the evidence as it is presented to you and the instructions as they are given to you by the judge. So regardless of what you think of a former U.S. president, regardless of what you think of the person who is accusing him of the crime, which in this case is the district attorney of Manhattan, the people of the area, regardless of what you think of the witnesses, regardless of what you think of the attorneys, regardless of what you think of the judge, regardless of your job as a juror is to take the evidence that is given to you and render a verdict based on that. And my question to you is, do you think you can? It's not easy. I don't think I've ever talked about this on stream, but I have served as a jury foreperson. I've understood and experienced this process very, very well. I grew up in a very legal household. My father was very involved in the law. I've always had a passion for the law. This isn't easy. And when you have a case as controversial as this, with the defendant as controversial as this, with a district attorney as controversial as this, in a political environment as controversial and dangerous as this, to sit upon a jury and say that I'm going to ignore everything that Jug just listed and I'm going to be fair and impartial. I want you to think about to yourself, could you do it? There are 18 people currently impaneled who said they can. Some of these people have documented histories of being pro or anti-Trump. There are questions about all of them. Because again, we're all human. We all have histories. Do you think that you could be fair and impartial? And I want you to truly understand that idea when you go to approach that question for yourself. Being truly fair and impartial doesn't mean that you walk in there thinking either Trump is innocent or Trump is guilty, and that is the fair choice. That's not what this means. It means eliminating what you think today and simply going with the idea that I don't have a thought anymore. Tell me the evidence. Pitch your case to me, attorneys. Make the argument that you have the knowledge that I need. When I was a jury foreperson, it was a very basic case. I'm not going to tell you the case. I'm not going to give you details. But it was a very basic, I believe it was a low-level felony. Yeah. All of us, we all walked into, I should say all but one of us. No, all of us. No, I take it back. All of us walked into this case. Like we were kind of thinking, we were like, damn, defendant's guilty. But to the credit, and I was very surprised, guys. I was genuinely shocked by this. When I got into the jury room, most people don't have the legal knowledge or experience that I have. I've loved the law. And I got into this jury room and I was surrounded by 11 other people who I had no idea who they were. It was men, it was women, it was different ethnicities, it was different ages, it was different incomes. We were a cross-section of our community. And people started hashing out the case. Not their thoughts about the case, but the case. They had evidence questions. They had procedural questions. And sort of by default, I became the jury foreperson because of something that happened in the jury room. And they were like, all right, you're in charge. And I was like, shit. So anyways, but there was questions about what they should have been asking about, except for one guy. One guy walked into this trial assuming the defendant was guilty, and never got rid of that assumption. He never put it aside. He kept his prejudice. And it got to a point where myself and I think it was one other juror, we were basically asking this guy, we were like, look, can you render a fair verdict here? We understand that you believe this person is guilty. But in our particular case, everyone else on the jury was like, look, we think she did it. But the attorney did not, the prosecutor did not present a good case. The prosecutor absolutely failed, did a terrible job. And we told the prosecutor, they didn't tell anybody. I told the prosecutor this after this because both attorneys were like, hey, can we speak to the jury? So, those of us who volunteered, we went outside the court with the attorneys afterwards. And I was like, I'm sorry, you did not present the case that we all knew you could. The evidence, the story, like all of this was so bad. And she just kind of sat there. She's like, okay. But like, I kind of read her the riot act because she failed. I genuinely believe she let a criminal go because of her incompetence. Anyways, but 11 of the 12 of us, we sat there, we had these conversations, and we approached it from regardless of what we thought, we looked at the evidence as presented to us. It didn't add up. It wasn't a good case. And that's how the case has to be decided, is the evidence of the case and the instructions that we got from the judge. But again, at one point in the jury deliberations, all of us were pretty concerned about this one dude. This one guy was just like, no, she's guilty. We're like, okay, but do you have a reason? No, I just think she did it. Like he was intentionally, explicitly not following the judge's instructions. He was not living up to the juror's oath. So finally, and semi-secretively, I sent a note to the judge. I was like, hey, we've got a problem. I need to talk to you. We've got a guy who's not following your instructions, and it will impact the outcome of this trial. So the judge called me into the court. It was myself, the defense attorneys, the prosecutor, the judge, the court reporter, bailiff, and that was it. The defendant was not, they said, was the defendant there? I don't remember if the defendant was there. It was really immaterial. But I basically told the judge, I was like, look, I don't know what you want me to say because this could mistrial the whole thing, but here's what's going on. All of the jury has concerns that one member is not following your instructions and intentionally disregarding them. This is not going to be decided on the facts. And to my surprise, the judge actually said, I can't do anything about that. Go back and fix it. I was like, look, we've tried for the last hour. We've tried talking to this guy. He is intentionally saying and explicitly saying he is not listening to the evidence. He's making a decision. or he made a decision before the trial began. The judge said, I can't do anything about that, which is absolutely wrong. Yes, you can. You remove that juror and bring in an alternate. I don't know why the judge didn't do it, but he's the guy with the robe and I was the dude with, pockets in my hoodie. So whatever. That's the way the world worked. But I really do. I understand the jury process. I love the voir dire process where you were literally picking apart jurors going like, do we want them? Do we not want them? Blah, 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 blah. And it just got me thinking about how many Americans could really look at a criminal trial involving the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, and render a fair verdict. Can you drop your bias at the door? And that was the thought I wanted to leave you with. So I thank you all for being here. I hope you have a very thoughtful weekend or week or whatever you're about to do, depending on when you watch or listen to this. Don't forget, please drop a subscription on the YouTube channel. If you are listening to this on anything like Spotify or an iHeart or an iTunes, press the follow button. I would appreciate that as well. And I will see you again on Monday for the next Twitch stream. Yeah, it'll be a live Twitch stream. And it'll be the final week where you can get entries into the giveaway. And we are going to be done. So go have yourself a good morning, a good day, a good night, whatever it is for you. And I will see you next time. See ya!